meets our guys and sees the stuff, and maybe then he'll apologize.
Tonight, more criticism for the Saskatchewan MP over his comments about burning down water treatment plants.
Because that's what the Inuvialuit are providing for our people.
And Anuvik-owned restaurant is now able to serve and sell country meat.
If you don't know your language, I advise you to please move forward and start learning.
And a new short film about the importance of saving Indigenous languages. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Comments about arson destroying water treatment plants on 2 First Nations in Saskatchewan are being challenged. Conservative Kevin Waugh from Saskatoon made the comments in a House of Commons debate last week. As our video journalist Rachel May reports, one of the First Nations Waugh was referencing has a few words for him.
In my province of Saskatchewan, I've seen reserves burn down water treatment plants because this government has done little or nothing.
That's Kevin Waugh during a debate over Bill C-61, the First Nations Water Act, last week in Ottawa. Waugh is a Conservative MP from Saskatoon.
These water treatment plants need education, and they need people on reserve to operate the water treatment plants.
The comments did not sit well with Kimball Ironstar, water plant manager for Carry the Kettle Nakota Nation, one of the reserves Waugh was referring to.
To have somebody come and see that behind their backs without even coming out to Carry the Kettle to see our facilities and to meet our water operators and understand the environment they work in and what they do was a slap in the face to them, and they didn't feel so good about it.
When it comes to an apology, Ironstar says he hopes that Waugh takes the time to visit the reserves he spoke about and understand how they operate.
Until he comes out to meet our guys and sees the stuff, and maybe then he'll apologize. It's going to be a heartfelt apology.
When it comes to moving on from the comments, Ironstar says Carry the Kettle is a resilient community.
Talk like this is going to affect us for maybe the day or two, but you know what? We're going to get up the next day and we're going to go back to work, and we're going to do the things we need to do to keep our community safe.
Carry the Kettle is not on the federal boil water advisory list. Waugh's office has since walked back his comments, stating he wasn't familiar with the specific circumstances surrounding the fires. Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
A Mikmaw fisher who has fought for fishing rights for over 20 years decided to become a commercial fisher and follow the rules. But that didn't prevent his lobster traps from disappearing and his boat from being damaged. Angel Moore reports.
That's Alexander McDonald in the year 2000, swinging a bat at a fisheries officer trying to board his boat. It was after the Marshall decision. The Supreme Court of Canada upheld Mi'kmaq treaty rights to fish. Mi'kmaq fishers took to the waters in southwestern Nova Scotia, but according to DFO, they were fishing out of season and without a license. Today, McDonald fishes with a commercial license and follows the Department of Fisheries and Oceans regulations. However, he says he still faces backlash from non-Indigenous fishers.
It's gotten worse. It's gotten worse since, it's gotten worse. You know, Marshall didn't do us any favor. It's gotten worse. These people, the non-natives, they don't want us in the water, period.
McDonald and his crew would normally be fishing. Instead, he's making a complaint to RCMP. His lobster traps are on the wharf at the Shelburne Marine Terminal, and fisheries officers are inspecting what is left of McDonald's missing traps. McDonald says fishing during the commercial season is not safe.
We need our own season, and this is the reason. This is the reason. You know, I'm 62 years old, and I've been at this a long time fishing, and it's never stopped.
Crew member Joseph Brooks says,
here we are doing the commercial season and we're still not being allowed or disregarded, you know, and being considered outsiders when we're Indigenous people to our own country, which is like the worst feeling, I guess you could say. That
McDonald is a commercial fisherman and a captain since 1997. He leased a commercial license from his band for $60,000 and dropped his traps last November at the start of the season. McDonald says the first week his traps started to go missing, and last December his boat was set adrift and washed ashore, causing over $60,000 in damages.
A season for a reason is bullshit. You know, it's wrong. It's for them to say that and then to complain, you know, we're not fishing their season, but when we try to fish their season, then they take our gear.
After losing about $200,000 in lost catch and about 500 traps, McDonald and his crew pulled his traps off the coast of Shelburne, about 200 kilometers southwest of Halifax.
I've been debating this with myself for weeks. You know, should I keep going? Should I quit? And then when we lost 12 more traps, I was like, I gotta get out. I gotta get out. You know, I can't lose any more. It's just too costly. And you know, I use my day school money that I got from day school and being abused, and now I feel like I'm being abused here.
Nova Scotia RCMP say an investigation into McDonald's allegations is ongoing. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans did not respond to an interview request by Airtime. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Dubuktuk, also known as Halifax.
Well, we'd like to hear what you think about the ongoing issue with the Mikmaw treaty right to fish, or anything else you see here. Here's how you can continue the conversation. If you have a story you want to share, you can send us an email to news@aptn.ca. To read our stories and watch them, you can go to our website, that's aptnnews.ca. You can also find us online on your favorite social media sites, including TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, and X. Follow APTN News, join the conversation, and see our latest stories. An 11-year-old boy from Saskatoon has been missing for over a week now. And the Saskatoon police are asking for the public to help in finding him. Hurricane Halkit was last seen on February 4th. His last known location was in the 400 block of Whitney Avenue, south in Saskatoon. He's approximately 4'11" and around 108 pounds. He has buzzed brown hair and brown eyes. Clothing description was not available. If anyone has information about where Hurricane might be, they're asked to call the Saskatoon Police Service. The proposed Kudzakia mine in southeast Yukon is at the center of a legal battle between the Casco Nation and the territorial and federal governments. Last month, the Territory Supreme Court ruled the governments, which are decision bodies for the mine, mostly upheld their duty to consult with the Casco when approving the mine to the next stage. But the Casco are appealing that decision. Here's Sarah Connors with more.
The Ross River Denna Council is appealing a recent court decision on the proposed Kudzakia mine on behalf of the Casco Nation. In their notice to the Yukon Court of Appeal, the First Nation asked that last month's ruling be set aside, as well as 3 other main requirements. 1, the 2022 decision allowing the mine to advance to the next stage in the approval process be quashed. 2, the governments to complete more meaningful and deeper consultation with the Casco about the project. And 3, for the governments to reevaluate its decision to approve the mine or put that decision before the Yukon Environmental and Socioeconomic Assessment Board for a panel review. A panel review is the highest level of environmental review in the Yukon. Only one other proposed project, the Casino Mine, was ever sent for a panel review. That review still hasn't happened yet. As of Thursday, no responses to the appeal have been filed. A hearing date has not yet been set. Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
Time for a quick break. Still to come, a new restaurant in Anuvik is creating quite a buzz.
Traditional food on our menu, it's kind of like revolutionary.
Welcome back to Parliament Hill now, where the Standing Committee on Science and Research continues its study on how to integrate Indigenous knowledge into government policy. The hope is to help resolve ongoing conflicts between the two systems. Danica Littlechild was among the 6 witnesses the committee heard from today. She's an Indigenous assistant professor from Carleton University. Liberal MP Ryan Turnbull asked Littlechild what the federal government can do to create more spaces of interconnection and interactions to get the benefit of both knowledge systems.
Ethical space is something that's intended to be co-created for a specific outcome or in a specific process, understanding that different parties come from different perspectives, and helping to create institutional change to work towards reconciliation. It is not about privileging one party over another. It is actually about trying to create a mechanism that prevents that problem that we've seen.
Western Arctic communities, including Anuvik, don't have many accessible dine-in restaurants. But one restaurant that recently reopened after closing last spring is now Anuvik owned and is getting a lot of buzz, as it's one of the few restaurants that is now able to serve and sell some country food. Part of a national and international Indigenous effort in taking leadership in solving food insecurity, economy, and healing. Carly Schogner has the story.
Muskox is super healthy, packed with vitamins and proteins and all sorts of nutrients.
That's Anuvik cook Joel Amos, for the first time being able to cook and sell muskox, wild game from the Arctic Beaufort Sea region.
I grew up in Sax Harbor for the first 10 years of my life, so I'm very accustomed to eating muskox. It's sort of like beef in the fact that it has marbling. I'm glad they have it a part of the menu. It's very interesting because it's the only place that actually has muskox on the menu.
He's the new kitchen manager at the Anuvik and Inuvialuit owned restaurant Mamaktuk, or which means delicious, in Inuktitut and Inuvialuktun.
Like when you look at the menu, what does it mean to have
traditional food on our menu? It's kind of like revolutionary.
17-year-old waitress Brooklyn Bodnar says she's found unexpected purpose in the new opportunity to serve country food.
We have people come in like every day, new faces. They're asking questions about our culture. They're asking how it's hunted, where it's hunted. They're finding out new information, which is lovely. And honestly, people just like really like our food. Like, they're interested in learning about our culture, and it's really nice.
This has been made possible from years of negotiations with the federal and territorial government and the Inuvialuit-run country food processing plant down the road. Director Brian Wade says while up until now they could only trade and sell to fellow Inuvialuit, they now have the ability to sell some country food to everyone.
In the IFA, we're able to barter or trade with each other. Now, reading the regulations and working with the GNWT, we're able to create a retail component to this.
The second modern comprehensive land claim, the Inuvialuit Final Agreement, signed in 1984, gives the Inuvialuit the lead in land and wildlife management, including tracking wildlife populations.
This plant was designed partially to kind of alleviate that need to rely on southern markets and southern stores to feed ourselves. In addition, it also provides kind of a traditional economy for people who have mastered the skills throughout their life to be able to harvest, to be able to fish, process wild game. This was an idea before it came to production. We sat down with all of the community corporations and the hunters and trappers that represent the 6 communities in the ISR, and we came up with a harvest calendar, figured out a fair compensation for each animal that they are harvesting, and that's how it is. So every month we do our local call-outs to the 6 ISR communities. The harvesters go out and get it, and then we logistically get it back here into the freezer, and this is where it waits to get processed. That's a dehydrator. Here's the smoker, big smoker. We got industrialized grinder, we got smokers, patty makers, cryovac machines. And then it makes its way through. It's professionally packaged, labeled, and then put into the finished freezer. Muktuk is beluga whale. So every 6 months, we distribute these boxes out to all 6 communities and all the households. But it's also our stock that we could provide to the restaurant at any given time, or any other programming that requires country food.
In addition to muskox, they are helping the restaurant introduce reindeer, which the Inuvialuit took ownership of the herd in 2021.
And we're just trying to introduce the fish into the restaurant. The char right now is locally sourced, but it's not from our region. We get it out of Cambridge Bay. The reason for that is that the Arctic char in our region, their numbers are not strong. So we don't want to put any pressure on the communities to kind of export their resources when they don't have enough to fulfill their own quotas within their community.
At Mamuktuk on Ori opening night, Farah Abdul says she believes it's what the community needs.
I think the variety is great. I think it includes very inclusive. It includes everyone, gluten-free, the vegetarian and vegan option, the local, food I think is amazing, so that it's Inuvialu owned.
She says that supporting is not just about buying, but seeking employment there.
Being short-staffed is something that I think we all know that we struggle with in the north. So I just think we all have to kind of support one another and support this restaurant.
I'm so glad people are able to teach me what I need to know for this job and talking to me about actually becoming a bartender or someone in the kitchen, which is really cool, which I didn't even know I was interested in until I started working here.
Amos says access to locally harvested food helps to cut costs in Indigenous homes.
Well, I'm fortunate enough to have country food in my freezer, so I don't have to go to the grocery store for protein. But it is very expensive for fruit, vegetables, milk, everything across the board is so expensive right now. It's pretty hard for some people right now, and I can feel it. Like, there are people out there that are suffering.
To see country food now accessible for everyone, he says he's excited to see greater Indigenous economy.
Hunting for Inuit is almost like religion. You practice it generation after generation after generation. It's something that's passed on. So it's from harvest to table. And I'm glad and I'm proud to be a part of this because that's what the Inuvialu are providing for our people. A lot of people drive up here in the summer. Tourists are everywhere. And I'm excited for them to try muskox. I want every one of them to stop into Mamuktuk to try our muskox bolognese and our muskox empanada and the reindeer tongue.
In the meantime, the Inuvialu are continuing to negotiate with governments to get more local options on the menu and in other places. Carly Shogner, APTN National News, Anuvik.
Thank you. Brilliant idea, from harvest to the table. Great looking food there. I'm sure it's going to be a busy place this tourist season. New short film is highlighting the importance of Indigenous languages. That story and much more still to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Regular contributor Dave Menzies shared with us this early morning hoarfrost that covered the trees in southern Manitoba. Nice looking picture there. Thanks for sharing, Dave. Be sure to send us your pictures to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, snow and 0 for Halifax, 4 below and cloudy in Fredericton. Minus 14 in Kuujjuaq, cloudy and 8 below for Nain. Minus 4 in Montreal, 9 below in Val-d'Or. Minus 3 with snow for Sault Ste. Marie, 8 below in North Bay. 0 with snow in Thunder Bay, minus 3 and flurries in Sioux Lookout. 8 below with snow in God's Lake, minus 5 and flurries in Norway House. Snow and minus 4 for Winnipeg, cloudy and 6 below in Dauphin. Minus 5 with snow in Regina, flurries and 9 below in Saskatoon. Minus 11 in Meadow Lake, 13 below with snow in La Ronge. Over in northern Alberta, minus 11 in High Level, 18 below with snow in Fort Chip. Minus 7 with snow in Edmonton, sun's out, and minus 8 in Lethbridge. Plus 8 for Vancouver and Victoria. Minus 5 in Prince George, 4 below in Smithers. Minus 10 for Old Crow, 0 in Rock River. Minus 23 for Yellowknife, 13 below in Norman Wells. Snow and minus 15 in Sax Harbor, a cloudy 9 below in Pawlutuk. A chilly minus 34 with snow in Chesterfield, 32 below in Whale Cove. minus 28 in Resolute, 21 below in Arctic Bay. New short film is showcasing the importance of saving endangered Indigenous languages. Datrin, which means raven in the Gwich'in language, features fluent speaker and elder Annie Bernard. The fictional story imagines a world where there is only one last speaker of the Gwich'in language. The film was directed by White River First Nation member Douglas Joe, and it premiered Friday at the Available Light Film Festival in Whitehorse, Canada's largest film festival north of 60. Bernard says she hopes the film will inspire others to connect with their language.
I heal myself with my Gwich'in language. I touch my body. I say nice things in Gwich'in to my body. At my elder age, I look amazing. I look like I'm 40. That's because my language makes me what I'm called to be for 2024 in my mother's womb. Language is so important. If you don't know your language, I advise you to please move forward and start learning.
Love that clip from Annie. Good stuff. Prolific Ojibwe writer Drew Hayden Taylor is back with a new novel this month. Cold brings a legendary Indigenous creature whose name we will not speak into the modern world. Taylor is our guest on Face to Face tonight and shares his thoughts on why Indigenous science fiction has been a hot genre in recent years.
For the longest time, a lot of our literature dealt with colonization, the effects of colonization. And I think we have to get that out of our system. You know, when an oppressed people get their voice back, they're going to write about being oppressed. So there are all these books coming out about colonization, reserves, residential schools, all that sort of stuff. And I think we've gotten to the point now where our attention is expanding. We're beginning to look at different ways of expressing ourselves. And I've always been of the belief that our writers are as clever, as talented, and as interesting as mainstream writers.
And you can catch that episode of Face to Face with guest Drew Hayden Taylor in about 90 seconds from now. We surprised him with a segment he did here 23 years ago this week. Fun episode. Well, for more on anything you've seen here, you can head over to our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also visit our APTN YouTube page to catch up on any shows or stories you may have missed. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy Miigwech, thanks for being with us. Have a great night.